Alright guys, so we're here at our favorite place, the junkyard. I am in search of a Nissan Maxima because supposedly according to the Nissan parts interchange, they use the same lower rack and pinion coupler, swivel joint, whatever you want to call it, as the 240SX. So they have a bunch here. The sad part is with the big V6 engine, it is not in a very easy access or very easy space to get to. So I'm trying to find one that has an engine pulled. So far no luck, but I'm going to keep on with my search. If not, I'm going to just have to go ahead and get down and dirty and get my hands in there and try to figure out a way to get it out. This is kind of my first plan of action to get one of these. My second is going to be driving up to see my buddy up in Marion, which is a couple hours away. I really didn't want to do a 4-hour drive, but I will if I have to because Nissan wants over $100 for this part and I really don't want to pay that. So yeah, I'm going to keep looking. Alright guys, so I found a couple victims. Maxima 1, Maxima 2. I'm going to go ahead and just start cutting some stuff out, see how hard this is going to be, and we'll go from there. If this turns out to be extremely difficult, hopefully it's just getting this cover off and getting access to it, and it comes out fairly easy, then I'll go ahead and do it. If not, I may be seeking a solution through driving to Marion or something like that, but you know, we're going to go ahead and get started. I don't know if you guys will be able to see this, but basically the part I need is down here under this boot, and it's got all these hoses and stuff in the way, plus this nice little cover on it. So I'm just going to start cutting some of that stuff out to get it out of my way.
He traded his guns for love, but he's caught in the crossfire, and he keeps waking up, but it's not to the sound of birds. The tyranny, the violent streets, deprived of all that we're blessed with, and we can't get enough. No, heaven, if you sent us down so we could build a playground.
Alright guys, I don't know if you can see this, but that's the part we're after right there. This one looks nice and clean because of this rubber protective boot. So it actually doesn't look too bad so far to get to it. Getting it off may be another problem, but we shall see. Hopefully I can get this off pretty easily. Right now I forgot a knife or anything, so I'm trying to figure out how to cut this boot off, but I'll get it figured out. Success. Got it off. Moves nice and smooth, really loose. Like not loose like bad, but loose like gonna make the steering feel a lot better. Alright guys, another successful trip to the junkyard. I was able to find what I needed and hopefully can get the race car's rack and pinion back in and get it up and running and move on to the next part of the project. So yeah, I'm gonna have to get back to the shop, aka my garage, and get back to work. But first I'm going to see if I can find a place to dismount the tires off my wife's wheels so that if I have some spare time after I get the race car ready, I can sandblast those and maybe start repairing them and prepping them for paint. But yeah, so I'm going to stop by a tire shop and then head on home and get back to work on the race car. Alright guys, after a bit of travel time and a little bit of a lunch break and everything, I was able to get my wife's tires dismounted, so now I can, when I find some time, I can sandblast the wheels and then start repairing them as best I can. So stay tuned for those videos, hopefully, if I get time. Until then, we're back at my garage and we're getting back to Project Race Car. Now, here is the nice new lower steering swivel joint or coupler, whatever you want to call it. It moves nice and freely, rotates as it should. I will say the one thing good about Maximas is this is covered by a rubber dust boot, so it doesn't see weather and everything like the 240 does. So this is very smooth, very loose, and should not impact the steering at all like the old one. I'm kind of starting to think, after spinning the rack by hand, that this was my problem the whole time. And I didn't know until I went to change the rack. So either way, you know, whatever. I got a cleaned up rack, new tie rods, all that stuff. But we're finding the root cause, which seems to probably be the steering coupler. So we're going to go ahead and fix that now and change that. I've already verified it in the junkyard and at home that they are the exact same. Nissan lists the same part numbers for them, so if you need one, it is a 91 to 2017 Nissan Maxima. They all seem to list the same part number, and they are exact replacement for the 240, it looks like. So there's usually a plethora of them in the junkyard, so if you have a problem like I do, go get one. They're cheap, easy, and even on the Maxima, it only took me 20 minutes to remove after I just cut some hoses and bent some shit out of my way and ripped the boot off. It was very simple. So yeah, we're going to get started. Alright guys, so I mentioned that I had forgot to center the rack before installing it. So it's a fairly simple process. In this case, since the steering joint is in my hand, it makes it even easier. But you can do this many different ways. But basically all you're going to do is install it onto your rack like so and everything, and then you're going to spin it all the way one direction until it stops, and then so you know you're at full lock. And then we're going to do the same thing to verify. 1 rotation, 2 rotations, 3 rotations, and it stopped. So it's 3 rotations just like it was previously. So we're going to now back it off to the left counterclockwise 1.5 rotations, and that will give us our center. 1.5. So there. Now we have our rack centered. Now we will center our steering wheel, and then we'll be able to connect the two. Now I will say this process is a little bit of a trial by error, so sometimes you may have to play with it a little bit, but it's not terrible. I will say something I did notice. I don't know if you can see this or not, but there is a large slot. If you look just right, there's a large slot in there. So that is the side that goes on the steering rack and not the rack and pinion. It can only go on one way, as in you can't flip this upside down and put one end on the rack and the other, you know, it has to go, the specific end has to go on the steering column. So that's nice, and everything like that. So yeah, just wanted to point that out in case you're like me wondering why it doesn't go on, and then you flip it around, it goes on, and you're like, oh, what's going on here?
I hope you got some beds around, 'cause you're the only refuge now for every mother and every child, every brother.
Alright, and there we go, she's back on. So I'm going to get this bolted up and everything like that, and then we'll be one step closer to having this thing all wrapped up. With your swivel joint tightened up and everything is now installed minus the tire rods and the pressure line and return line. So you want to do your 2 return lines. You want to be careful of the O-rings. Don't split them or crack them. Maybe you know, put a little bit of transmission fluid on, just keep them lubricated. But you're going to tighten those up and everything. And so I have to wait. I have a new pressure line coming in at AutoZone because mine was seized, and when I tried to loosen it, it broke the pipe. Whatever, it's happened. It's already been replaced once since I've owned the car. Should have a warranty on it, so AutoZone's getting that in tomorrow. I'm going to pick that up. So stay tuned for a couple days when I will get the video of doing the power steering cooler install. So I'm waiting on a radiator because I noticed my radiator was leaking from the seam. So I got a radiator coming. So as soon as the radiator comes, then I will do the I will put the pressure line on and do the return line with the power steering cooler. So stay tuned for that video. But onward to this job, we're gonna move on to the tie rods. Alright guys, now that we got our steering swivel tightened down and everything, and in case you're wondering, it's 17 to 22 foot-pounds for the swivel joint on the rack and pinion. Next, all that's left is our tie rod ends. So then we're going to tighten our castle nut down, I think a maximum of 36 foot-pounds, and then secure it with a cotter key. Yeah, so pretty much I think it's like 24 to 36 foot-pounds. And everything, and then use your cotter key, and we'll do that. Now my alignment is definitely messed up, so once I get everything wrapped up in the car out of the garage, I'll use some string and kind of try to adjust the toe to make it drivable to the alignment shop or something like that. But yeah, so that's pretty much the gist of the rack and pinion install. So now that the rack and pinion's installed, I'm going to go ahead and probably do a little eyeball toe adjustment, since I visually can see that the right side is pretty bad and pretty off. So I'll go ahead and knock that out and move on to something else. But that's going to conclude today's video for the rack and pinion install part 2. Thanks to the junkyard. Shout out to Pig and Pool for usually having something I need when I need it and able to come through and save the day. Saved me over $100 and a 4-hour drive to Marion. I really want to give a shout out to David Parks, my buddy, who was willing to give me a swivel joint for free to get me up and running, but it just wasn't as efficient, I guess, for me to drive all the way up there. So I was able to find a Maxima one is the exact same and then fix it. So that's done. Hopefully this helps you out if you are changing your rack and pinion or anything like that, or just doing some maintenance servicing. But yeah, please like and subscribe to the videos, and stay tuned. We are doing more to Project Race Car. I got a plethora of parts coming, and we're just keep full steam ahead. We're trying to make that deadline of August 5th. We're gonna go drifting. That's gonna happen. All right, guys, take care. Later.